Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I'm very privileged to have Miss Helle here, and she is an emotional freedom techniques coach and an evolutionary astrologer. And we've been having a great conversation about our spirituality and our walk with Jesus. And I hope that you will be open-minded and you'll listen to what she has to say. Being a believer, I try to spread the word and bring people closer to God because he can heal you if you allow him to. And as I stated before, that even if God wasn't real, he's very necessary, because look at the way the world is now. So, Miss Helle, will you please tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into a great conversation.
Well, first of all, God is real. We agree on that, Coyote.
Yes, very real.
Yes. So I am an absolute Jesus freak, and I'm on a mission to heal as many people as I can, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and in some cases also physically. I came from a very broken home with a lot of abuse, and I went through all kinds of therapy trying to heal this insanity in me that was caused by all the abuse. And I found emotional freedom techniques. I found this thing we call EFT. It's commonly known as tapping, where we don't just talk about the problem, because talking with somebody, that's good, but the emotional impact is still in you. And that's what we need to heal. We need to heal all the pain, the anxiety, the worry, the need to overeat, to drink, to whatever it is you do. We want to go in and find the emotional pain that's still in you and then heal that. And we can call it healing with Jesus or the Holy Spirit, or for people who are not religious or don't have any kind of spiritual term that they're comfortable with, maybe the universe, but otherwise we call it the unseen therapist. So my mission is to help as many people as I can who have, a lot of people I work with have been through a lot of abuse. Some of them have had absolutely no abuse. They've had a normal childhood. They were loved, and they still have, just from living in this crazy world, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt that people carry. So I want to heal as many people as I can, help people find peace and find love and live better lives. And if we also happen to talk about Jesus, I will do the best I can to bring you to Jesus and tell you my story.
The main thing is you're trying to help people to get that, well, as this title says, emotional freedom.
Yes.
We do seem to be bound by the pain that's either caused by other people or we do to ourselves, which I did both. I had things happen to me, and then as I got older, abused alcohol and drugs. And I see now how it separated me from my family and being a better person, being that good father, a good son, being a good grandfather, being a good worker, all these things, and giving myself.
But that's what happens.
Yeah.
When you are abused as a little kid, it's like it fries your brain completely. And that it's like a kink. You have a water garden hose, you're out watering your plants and you get a kink, there's no water. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing when you abuse, it just kinks up your system and the energy cannot run through you properly. And that kink doesn't just slowly open up and starts flowing again. In most cases, that stays there. And that's why what are you going to do? Well, you're going to start drinking, or you're going to sleep around with everybody, or you're just going to be anxious, or whatever it is. But it's all because you had that kink.
True. Well, we
And
have to
until you
also
heal
just,
that,
yeah, you have to heal it. But a
yeah.
lot of people, it seems like there's a push to be a professional victim nowadays. And there is an opportunity for you to become or get broken from those bonds. Let's put it that way. But you
Yeah.
have to want to do it. It seems like the world is trying to tell you you need to be a victim, you need to stay a victim. But a strong person, even though
Well,
they've been through a lot,
it's because
they can
people
get
don't
past it.
know. They don't know. They don't know that the options are there. Nobody tells their children, oh, when you grow up, you can be an EFT coach and you can help people.
Mhm.
You can go to university, you can become a clinical psychologist, and but a lot of healing modalities that really go to the core and really help you, that's not something that you hear about until you become some strange person like you and me who's looking into alternative options, not just what the mainstream has to offer. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, is that available? I didn't know. Yes, they told me I was a victim. They told me that I have to take these pills for the rest of my life
Yeah.
to manage my anxiety. I had just 2 weeks ago, I had this young woman, 27 years old. She grew up with a violent father and had a lot of trauma. And so they said, well, you have PTSD and you're going to be on drugs for the rest of your life. It never goes away. And I'm like, yes, it does. If you find the right kind of treatment and the kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing that I do, that helps resolve your PTSD. It helps resolve your chronic anxiety, and you'll get off the meds and you'll have a good life.
Well, that's really no different than, say, like diabetes. Okay, I'm diabetic, and I was on all kinds of medicines. I mean, I took the insulin, and um, I still take metformin, but I don't take as much as I used to. But there was another pill, I can't think of what it was, but it would bring your sugar down real quick.
Right, right.
But when I started to eat right and exercise and try to stay away from all the sugars and the bad carbs and all that stuff, all of a sudden I'm not taking all those medicines anymore.
What a surprise.
Wow, there's a solution. If you change your patterns, then
Right,
there's a positive pattern that can heal you. But
right.
if you can,
Yeah,
yeah, of course, if you're going to continue to eat a whole bag of M&Ms and a bag of Doritos and drink soda waters and all that stuff, well then, yeah, you're going to be on all those medicines forever, because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing the opposite of what you should be doing.
Exactly. We want to try to bring everything into balance, including the body. The body will heal itself if you just allow it to come into balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I could get on that soapbox. Believe me.
There's a lot of, so I got a stack of soapboxes right here.
All right. The evolutionary astrology. I can
Yes.
already hear
Yeah.
some people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be into astrology if you believe in Jesus." I must say,
Well,
hold on a second.
who was it who found Jesus? The wise men. Who follows the stars? Astrologers do.
Thank
Who
you.
were they? They were astrologers. Of course they were. And there's nothing evil about astrology. Astrology is just, what is it, 4,000-year-old system that helps you understand your own psyche and helps you understand your personality and the
Mm.
themes that you are working with in this lifetime. There's nothing easy about it. It just helps to make more sense out of life. And when we do evolutionary astrology, we kind of look at it in a context. This life is not just one time, that's it. But there's some form of evolution in the universe. Whatever we were, I don't know if it's in reincarnation, and what reincarnation is a practical, handy way of explaining it. I have no idea if it's true or not, but it works to explain it. So I use that. So in the chart, we can see kind of the themes that you were born with, the things that you were here to learn with, to deal with. It's not like every baby comes in like a blank slate. Everybody who's ever seen a baby knows that that baby is different from that baby, from that baby, from that baby, before anything has
True.
ever happened. So we all come in with something. We can have the same parents, go to the same school, everything, but the kids grow up completely different.
Very true.
So we can go in and see these differences, and we can go in and see what are the themes and what are you trying to learn in this life. We could call it, what is the soul trying to learn in this life that you didn't know coming in. And so some people come in, they have themes like power versus powerlessness, or the need to always be right versus learning to be open to all kinds of ideas. There's so many different themes, and astrology is just a really practical way to talk about you, about your psychology, about your emotional life, and what you're here to obtain. And why do I keep doing the same thing? Like, why do I keep marrying? How many women have you heard saying, oh, I keep marrying the same man? You know, I think this time it's going to be different, but because of the patterns that you came in with, you have a tendency to keep repeating this loop. And then that's where the EFT comes in, because we can say, oh, I have these issues and this happened to me when I was a kid. Good, great. Now we have helped to bring this up into the world. And now we can use EFT to actually go in and resolve those issues. Why do I keep marrying the same man? Why do I keep finding guys attractive who end up beating me? That's the kind of stuff I can help with. We find the pattern. We find the underlying emotional causes to why you do that. Then we go in and resolve them. We ask Spirit, we ask Holy Spirit, we ask the unseen therapist, whatever you want to call it. We bring that pain to the universe, to God, and then God heals it. Unseen therapist heals it. And then we take the next, and then we take the next, and then we take the next. But so you are actually resolving and releasing these emotional stress patterns. And when you resolve them, then suddenly you can make different choices. And you can say, that guy, oh, yeah, I'm not going that way. I have done that 10 times before. No, that guy over there, wow, that's different. Let me go talk to him instead. And then you have healed the pattern and your life changes.
Well, someone like myself, who I'm far from being perfect. I'm still striving to evolve myself.
I'm sure you're very close.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But I'm on this journey, and I want to bring other people along. Yeah. And as I said, I had things happen to me, and I could have easily become a victim. But I meet people like you that I try to get a little bit from everyone, so I can move up. And as I said, I'm trying to bring people along the journey and show them that there is alternatives. So someone like myself, I come to you and I see, I'm finding myself falling into that same old, trying to change. So what would you do to help me to get beyond that?
Well, we would start, there's a couple of approaches, but in one of them, we would just say, well, okay, so what is the worst moment that you just experienced today or in the past week? Saying, oh, well, crap, I went to the bar and I did it again. Good. Okay, so let's start working on that, like the self-loathing you have for, oh, why did I do it? I know better, I shouldn't, why? And so there's some self-hatred there, for example. Yes. Then we would talk about that self-hatred. And if it's really high, like we measure on a scale from 0 to 10, what is the intensity? I just hate myself. I'm the worst person on earth, full-blown 10, or yeah, I'm just somewhat upset about it. So we would work on getting that self-loathing you're feeling in this moment down to where it's somewhat comfortable. And then we say, when in your earlier life, preferably childhood, do you remember a feeling like that, where you felt that self-loathing and self-hatred? And that will take you back to memory, saying, well, when I was 5 years old and my dad did this, and I was such a disappointment, I just hated myself because I didn't do better. And then we would work on the self-hatred that you still feel when you think about what happened when you were 5 years old. And then we resolve the self-hatred from when you were 5. And then we go back and say, okay, so you went to the bar last Thursday and you fell in the hole again. How strong is your self-hatred now? In most cases, the fact that you healed the earlier incident will have already healed the self-loathing that you feel now because you did it again on Thursday. If it doesn't, then we just keep working on it. until it does resolve. And then we just go through as many events as it takes. This is not a quick fix.
Right,
Just
right.
like you don't go to therapy once, you don't do this once. This is a process over, a number of months, but it is incredible how quickly people really heal from this, because we're not just talking about it, but we're going to the emotion. It's not a logical thought. It's not thoughts that make you go to the bar and get drunk again. It's the emotion in you and the beliefs you have, say, I'm a worthless piece of crap, or whatever it is. That's what makes you drink, and that's what makes you hate yourself afterwards for doing it. And that's what we want to heal, so that the pattern is resolved, so there's nothing to trigger it. We want to resolve the pattern so all the triggers don't work anymore. It's like, you look on your phone or your computer and the text is grayed out. You can't click on it. You deactivated it. So that's what we do with EFT. We go in and we deactivate those stress patterns, so you're not triggered anymore, saying, yes, I had a fight with my wife. Why would I go to the bar and drink? No, instead, let me go over and hug her and say, honey, I'm so sorry. Did you have a bad day? Talk to me. What can we do?
Well, most of the time I'm at probably about a 5, but I do
Right.
have those days where I hit a 10.
Right.
Um,
And I would say, come talk to me. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am very critical of myself, and
I think just about every alcoholic is.
I have those most nights where I'll wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and all I think about are the things that I did wrong. I can't ever think of the things that I've done right.
Right.
And it's hard to be a good leader and to try to bring people to positivity when you're fighting it yourself. It's a daily
Yes.
struggle.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I want to change my pattern, and granted, I know this is not a quick fix, but what exactly would be my first step, as besides acknowledging, okay, something happened to me when I was 8 years old, and this is the way I felt. I guess I'd say that would be the second step. What would I do next?
Well, you would work with somebody like me who helps you. See, the thing is, we want to work on what we call specific events.
Mm-hmm.
We want to work on what we call the emotional crescendo. When your dad beat you when you were 8 years old, there will be the moment where dad came home and he was drunk, and I was cowering in my bed, and I was hoping he was not going to come into my room. But then I heard the door open. Bing, right there. There's a crescendo right there. I heard the door open.
Okay.
And then we would go in and we would resolve that shock feeling that you had the moment you heard the handles, like, oh crap, he's coming for me. And then first we would work on the shock of, oh God, he's actually coming. Then we would work on whatever fear comes up. And you can usually, depending how bad it is, we can usually work on like 2 or 3 of these specific steps in a session, which is about an hour. Okay. And so we will just keep working on it. And usually if dad beat you once, he beat you 100 times. Or a lot of times. Dad came home drunk, whatever it is. So it's a process of identifying these peak moments where you get the shock, or you get the fear. There's the shock of when he actually hits you. There's the shock of mom coming in and screaming, trying to stop him. There's all these many moments, and we can't work on the whole 5 minutes. When it's an intense thing like that, then we take it, one moment at a time, one peak at a time. And we deal with that and we resolve it, and then we go to the next, then we go to the next. And then after a while, when we have worked on all of those, you can tell me that story without anything, popping up, without you having any emotional impact at all. We deactivate it, we gray it out. And then we go.
If I'm feeling that specific feeling,
mm-hmm.
And I mean, am I telling myself to change the way I'm
Nope,
feeling about it,
nope,
or?
not at all. You just say, so if we say we take you back to your 8 years old,
Mhm.
and the moment my dad, I hear that my dad, his hand on the doorknob, the click, right there, how intense does that feel to you right now? Yes, when you were 8, you were terrified. Chances are it still brings up terror now. So if now you are feeling the terror still in this moment, you're feeling the terror, then we take that emotion, and we can do two things depending on how people like to work it. If we do the traditional kind of old-fashioned tapping, we tap on meridian points and we resolve it. And that's my dogs showing up there. And if people are more spiritually inclined, then we simply take that emotion and we say, God, I'm willing to give this up. Please take it and please bring me peace instead. And then we are quiet for like 20 seconds to a minute, and we kind of allow unseen therapist, Holy Spirit, to do that work and take that emotion. Then we go back and we test and saying, okay, so when you think about it now, that moment you're lying in bed, you're 8 years old, and you hear dad open the door. How strong is that now? And usually that will have gone down some. So let's say we start at an 8 in intensity, and now we're down to like a 4 in intensity. Good. Then we do it again. We go in and we say, unseen therapist, Holy Spirit, I still feel this. Well, now it's not terror. Now it's like anxiety I'm feeling. Okay. So we say, God, please take this and please bring me peace instead. And then we allow Holy Spirit to come in and do the work. And we wait. We don't do anything. We don't do anything at all. We just hand it over and say, not mine. This is yours. Now I give it to you. So you're not trying to think anything different. You're not trying to do anything with it. Your part is to isolate what it is. It's that fear in this moment right here where dad's coming in the door. And then you say, take it. And then you allow spirit to do the work. Or if you like the tapping part, then we tap on meridian points and we allow the energy channels to let that energy flow again. And either way, I prefer the more spiritual usually, just because that works really well for me. But either way, we will reduce that anxiety. And after 2 or 3 of these rounds, for most people, it will have gone down to a 0. And you can talk about that moment where dad, you heard you were lying in the bed and dad was opening the door, but you don't feel an emotional intensity now. Then we go to the next moment. Well, then he came over and I was like, oh crap, he had the belt. And then we will work on that fear when you see the belt. Same way you bring up the emotion, the fear, saying, oh God, I'm gonna get hit, and you're cringing and your whole body is. We take that isolated emotion, we say, here it is. Please heal this, please take it, please bring me peace instead. So it's like I'm trading you your peace for my pain. And we just keep doing that and doing that and doing that until you can tell me that whole story and you're like, it's like a grocery list for you. Yes, we can't change what happened then. And when you were 8, yes, it was terrible. And yes, you were scared. But now when you're 45, whatever you are, you don't need to still feel that fear and that shock and that terror of the 8-year-old boy. So yes, the event is still what it was. But when you think about it now, it doesn't bring up the emotion. And that's when things start changing in your life, because you don't have all these triggers and all this emotion.
First, thank you. I wished I was 45 again.
I thought you might like that.
Well, I'm sure everyone's going to be different when they react to this, but do you find a lot of people have gone from that being scared, being anxious, to then being angry before
Oh,
they actually?
absolutely. You usually go through the spectrum. You hate them, and then you want to beat them, and then you want to, and then, a lot of times we try to, when the worst part is over, we put it a little bit more into perspective, saying, well, what was your dad's childhood like? Oh God, my grandfather, he beat him silly all the time, saying, oh, so maybe we can have a little compassion for dad because he had such an awful childhood. He got beaten. maybe they starve during the Dust Bowl, depending on how old people are, but something like that. There's a reason why dad has become a mean drunkard who beats his children. And so sometimes it helps to bring in a little bit of compassion. A lot of times people are like, no, 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 I'm not there yet. He's just a bastard. Good. So we take people where they are, and we get the anger, and we get the hatred, and we get the pain, we get the anxiety, we get all of that. And then, yeah, I mean, when I think about my mom grew up she was young during the Second World War. Imagine living, and a lot of people lived through wars. She would have grown up while the Germans were bombing. And so you're 5 years old and you're playing with your dolls, and then suddenly the alarms go off. You have to run down to the bunkers. Oh, bombs, bombs, bombs. What is that going to do to a little kid?
Yeah.
Then the Germans come in later, they occupy, and everywhere you look, you can be Jesus and you can see Romans everywhere. You could be Danish or anybody else who was occupied, and you see German soldiers with guns everywhere. How's that going to affect? How is my mom going to grow up like a normal person, like a normal mother? And if you already have a psyche that's a little prone to being unstable, and then you experience that, well, then you end up with a mom like I did. Violent, crazy, abusive, psychotic, just completely out of control. And so when I started realizing what my mom had gone through, because she was the one who abused me, I was like, well, I can see how she also was a victim of what happened to her, and her brain was fried from what happened to her. I'm sorry, my dog keeps crying there.
That's okay. So, would you say a lot of this is also meditation?
Well, you could call it meditation, that minute there that we kind of, or are allowing Holy Spirit or unseen therapist to come in and take it. And meditation as a practice aside from that is, always helpful. It kind of depends on how acute your thing is, because if your anxiety is fairly acute, forget about meditation. You sit down and close your eyes and all that happens is crazy. So sometimes, once we start taking the edge off, well, then your meditation is better. Or you start doing Qigong, because then or Tai Chi, you're doing a moving meditation that's a little easier for you than just sit down and, be quiet. For a lot of people, that is like not happening, it's just impossible. So again, we take people where they are, and then we just start from there.
I used to have the hardest time trying to meditate, and I couldn't figure out why. How come everybody else can do this? I can't. My mind won't quiet down. Well, I found out I was doing it all wrong when they told me. They taught me the breathing method of bringing in the positive and exhaling the negative. So I can't help but compare, like when you pray, it is a form of meditation.
It is.
You're trying to change the bad part of you, so you're bringing in the good, which is the Holy Spirit, and then you're letting out the bad, which is the sins of the flesh.
Right. Yeah.
So
you just, so again, but all you do is still, you're handing it over, because you can't do it. I can't do anything, but God can, Spirit can, unseen therapists can. It's always that thing that is bigger than us that can do what we can't do. And we're just asking for help, saying, hey, I have no idea how to do it. I can't do this. I've tried. I can't do it. So now you do it for me. And what do you know? Oh, yeah. That worked a whole lot better than me trying to fix my mess, right?
Well, then another thing that I wish I could make people understand, and I know a lot of people do, so I'm not saying everyone's like this, but when you are living in the flesh and drinking and doing all those drugs, and then you punish yourself emotionally and all that, they don't, when you talk about Jesus, when he died on the cross, he's taken on all those things that you punish yourself for, and he took the punishment for it. So through that's how I don't know if you think of it that way, and you realize he's taken everything and he's taken the punishment for you. Maybe that would be a difference on how you approach this.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. If he took all our sins, why does the world look the way it does?
Well,
because we keep messing up.
because we're
And
living in the flesh. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Most of us are living in the flesh. We see this quick fix on everything. Um, let's say, okay, you can get on the computer, go to Amazon, order something. The next day, it's at your door. There's
wonderful.
no
I love it.
well, it's great, but it's that quick gratification.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I don't
some of
think
it,
that considering how it seems to work, I think that you still need to do your part. It was not like
yeah, you
Jesus
have
just
to
did it and now you don't have to do nothing. You still have to do your part, and you
exactly.
still have to bring it to him. He can't take it from you unless you bring it to him. And it seems like, apart from a few miracles, usually you can't say, well, take all the bad things that happened to me in my childhood, just take them. Usually it doesn't work that way. You take, and maybe that's our limited minds that can only do a little bit at a time. So I can only take this emotion, Jesus takes it. Then I take this emotion, Jesus takes it. So it becomes, one little bit at a time. It's not like, I mean, even when I had, my come to Jesus experiences in 2018, it did not clean the slate, and it was not like I suddenly became this perfect person. Far from
Oh,
it.
no. Not, I guess my point being is he did take our punishment for us, but at the same time, like you said, you have to be accountable for the things that you've done. You can't just
Yeah.
say, "Oh, well, you know what? Uh, I'll accept Jesus as my savior. I'm saved. Everything's perfect." That's not exactly what I meant. You have to be accountable for those things that you've done. Otherwise,
Yes.
it doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. And you still have to, I mean, in some cases you still have to apologize. One of the things I do sometimes with people, whether they feel they have been wronged or they are the ones who are the wrongdoers, to imagine going in and you bring in that other person. Let's say it's your dad again. We go back in, and so we imagine you and your dad and Jesus together. And so we start with Jesus filling you up with love so that you are like overflowing with love. And that love pours out of you so much that it actually pours into your dad. So Jesus pours the love into you, you pour it into your dad, and you filling up your dad with love. And then after a while, he has so much love that it starts overflowing. And then there becomes this loop of love flowing between you and him and Jesus, where it's all love. And that is kind of very helpful in the forgiveness process, because you have a different experience of your dad, because you are suddenly feeling the love, not the love that he gave you, because the love he gave you didn't look so much like love perhaps, but then it's the love of Jesus that washes through you both. And that washes you clean. That washes you clean. That washes out everything you call sin, or you call, whatever you call it, because then we're just down to pure love, nothing but love.
if you don't change the way you're, well, let's see, how do I want to put this? If you're doing the same old patterns,
Mm-hmm.
you're nailing Jesus right back to the cross again and expecting him to take your punishment all over again. So you have to be willing to change. I'm granted. Okay, I know
Absolutely.
we're humans. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things that are sinful. It's an inevitable part of our being, but you still can strive to be a better person.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You gotta be willing. But the thing is, a lot of times we are not, I mean, that's what they say in AA, as far as I know. They go in and they give it to a higher power because they can't stop. They cannot stop going to the bar on Thursday and get drunk. They just
Right.
can't. They just can't. And so what I do with EFT is I go in and we find, where did that stress pattern start? Where you feel like you are out of control, you can't decide what you want, or you have such memories that's just awful. You have to keep drinking, whatever it is, to so go down and resolve what is underneath that. Because if Jesus just took it, well, that would be easy, but it doesn't seem like he does. We have to do our part and say, Jesus, this is what it is here. And then he takes it.
And one of my biggest problems too is that I've asked for forgiveness from my children for the things that I did when
Sure.
they were little.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that I continuously ask for forgiveness.
Right.
And my
Yeah.
son, he told me, he says, like, Dad, we've already let that go. We've forgiven you for that. Why
Now
do
you let it go?
now you have to let it go?
Yes. See,
the wisdom.
So see, then the interesting part would be, why aren't you letting it go? And then we would go in and say, what's underneath that? And we would dig around a little bit. And then we would find the reason why you can't let it go. Probably comes back to the same old self-loathing.
That's the problem, is hating myself as much as I try not to.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. Until you get down and you find those underlying emotional causes, which are always very foundational from early childhood, until you go in and you look at it and you heal that emotion, you're going to keep loathing yourself no matter what you do.
And how can you really love anybody else if you don't even love yourself?
How can you be doing a great job for Jesus if you still have that self-loathing? When there's always, 50% love, 50% hatred.
Your life has to be a reflection of Jesus when you're out witnessing to people, because I'll tell you what, they're very quick to say, oh, I thought you were a Christian and look at the way you're acting.
Yeah.
Well, don't put yourself in that situation,
right? Right. Yeah. So that's why, it's a daily thing. It's not like you do it once. It's a daily thing. And if you clean up all the big stuff, then every time life throws you something, well, then you deal with that and you deal with that, and you'll do that until you die. Mm-hmm. But it's when we don't clean house, and it in our culture, we don't do that. We're not so used to dealing with our emotional issues. But it's like, imagine if you never cleaned your house, you never took the trash, you never anything. What is your house going to look like after 20, 30, 40, 50 years?
Exactly.
Of not cleaning. And that's how our emotional life looks for a lot of people. Because in our culture, it's not valued. We have problems, go talk to a psychologist, but then there's already something wrong with you. So it's not just part of the culture that, of course, well, you take a shower fairly recently, hopefully fairly often, but you don't take an emotional shower. You don't go in and clean up the emotional issues. So that also is something that, if it becomes a habit of just doing it, like, I do it myself every day. Go in and say, well, what's the worst moment of my day, or what happened yesterday? What does that remind me of? And I go in and I work on that. And I have my own coach, because I'm a coach. I strongly believe in coaching. No politician, no athlete would ever consider doing things, oh, I can do it myself, I can figure it out myself. Well, yeah, you can. But if you want to win a gold medal, you probably need a coach. If you want to win an election, you probably need a coach, And I want to live I want to be the best that I can be. And so I need a coach, because I need somebody that I can bring my problems to, and that can say, oh, Helle, you didn't even notice, but look at that. It's like, oh, I didn't know. So they tell me how to improve. So I have a coach. I meet with my coach every week. I can't imagine not having a coach.
Well,
because
even
if you want to be the best, you gotta be coached.
Even the best vehicle, you still need to get the oil changed. You still need to put gas in it.
You still do. So, that's what coaches do. I love coaches. I love coaching.
Now, I know for me, and I don't know what your feeling is on this, I've had to let go of some people in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'll go back to the same old. It's like that, that they feed that bad part of me.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I was going to say, do you teach people to kind of let go of those toxic people in their life?
Well, that depends on what they come to me for. Okay. So if they come to me to be coached because they want a much different life, then we will see. The funny thing is, a lot of times when you change, somehow either the people around you also change, or they kind of just go on their merry way, so you don't have to focus on them. So I don't really focus very much on other people
Oh,
in your
gotcha.
life, unless you have people who are, you go home and your husband is still beating you, or you go back and you hang out with your friends who are still saying, come on, just one drink, just have a beer,
Yeah.
are you sure that's the smartest thing for you?
Yeah. Well, I love these people from afar, and I just don't hang out with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
still there if they really needed me. So
Right,
I'm not
right,
saying
yeah,
totally shun everybody completely,
right,
but I also don't want to hang out with those people. Say, it's just one drink.
yeah,
It's just one line of Coke.
right, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if you do still hang out with them, then we would go in and say, why?
Hmm.
Let's look at that. What is the attraction to that? Well, it's the only people I know. I don't have a family. Okay, so let's go in and look at this so you feel alone in the world. And then we go back to childhood again and say, well, where did that feeling start? Well, I was abandoned when I was a week old and I grew up in an orphanage or whatever it is. And then we would deal with that. But there's no situation that cannot be resolved. That's the
Right.
thing. I have never had a client that I couldn't work with. I had one woman there was a home invasion when she was 18 months old. And you don't want to know what they did to an 18 months old baby. God Lord, people. But they did. Her life was hell. I met her when she was 70. Within 3 months, she started being a happy woman. After 6 months, she has so much freedom and she's doing all this stuff that she wants to do. Because there's nobody who is, if you are willing to do the work, there's nobody who's so far out you can't help them. Gary Craig, who's the founder of EFT, a number of years ago, probably like 10 or 15 years ago, he spent a week at the VA working with the veterans and all the people who had the worst PTSD, who was heavily medicated, who couldn't sleep, had panic attacks all the time. They couldn't do much for them at the VA. He came in and he did EFT with them. And you watch these people, the session, you can go on YouTube and you can look at these sessions that he had with these veterans. And you just see them suddenly, they can sleep again. They can get off the anti-anxiety medication, and they've seen, the worst of the worst. But even they can be helped.
Find alternatives, because some of those medications that are supposed to keep you from feeling all that stuff, it comes with a warning. It says may cause feelings of depression, may cause suicidal thoughts. It's like, I thought that's what I was avoiding.
Exactly.
Oh,
and I grew up with that. My mom was she was an alcoholic, and she was a drug addict, but she was given drugs by the doctors to try to keep down her anxiety, whatever, because nobody, well, that was also, a few years ago, EFT was not an option at that time. If she could have come to somebody like me, see what I really, really would like, Kyle, is to reach people before they beat their kid.
Yeah.
Before they go out and rape somebody, before they go get in the car and they're drunk and they kill somebody. When you can feel like, ooh, man, I am just not in a good place, run to somebody like me and say, I don't want to hurt my children, but oh man, I feel that anger,
Yeah.
Come to somebody like me and deal with that. So then we don't, because all the people I work with have had, not almost all of them, have had some kind of rough childhood stuff that happened. But imagine if we could catch people before. What if somebody had found my mom and says, oh, wow, you really have some trauma from the Germans bombing and then occupying. Let's work with that. And we work with children too. My youngest client is 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
So work with that and resolve that, so you don't have to, grow up to be somebody who beats their children.
Yeah.
Stop it here.
Those experiences and those emotions, they're real. I'm not trying to take that
absolutely.
away from anyone,
No,
but you
no,
don't
no.
have to be a victim. There
You
are
don't.
there are answers out there. You just got to be
There are.
willing to seek them.
Yes, absolutely. And just don't worry about it. Yes, so it's new and different. Who cares? Nothing ever changed because of doing same old, same old. Try something different.
Yeah.
Like Luke, try to go out.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a
Yes,
different
yes.
outcome.
Well, how many
The
people do you know
literal
who've been in
definition of insanity.
people who've been in therapy for 10 years? I remember way back when I first started remembering what happened to me in my childhood. I was in an incest survivors group.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember them sitting there. They had been in that group for like 5, 10 years. All their friends were incest survivors. It's all they ever talked to. And I was like, whoa, I want to, be done with this. I want to heal from this and I want to have a life. But they identified so much as incest survivors. And they didn't even want to be different. They didn't want to even be free of it. And I was like, sorry, that was not my group.
Yeah.
So I found quickly that there was actually no support group I could go to because I was the only one who wanted to actually heal it and move on.
I guess you still have those people that say they want help, but they fight you the whole way.
Yeah. And I cannot help people. The only people that I can help are people who come in and say, okay, I'm willing, I'm fully willing, I'm willing to go where I need to go. I'm willing to bring that up and I'm willing to release it and consider that there is another way of looking at it.
Yeah. I sympathize with anybody that's been through abuse, whether it be sexual,
goodness.
physical, or whatever. And
Yeah.
you have every right to feel those emotions and to have those problems, but please find someone that can help you.
Yes.
And if EFT
yes.
can do it, I say go for it. So
Yeah.
if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do that?
Well, my website is called peacewitheft.com, and you can go right there and you can fill out a message and I'll get right back to you. So if you need help and if you're not sure about this all sounds weird, contact me anyway and we'll talk about it and see if this might work for you, because I just want to help people. You don't have to. I suffered. My life was hell. I was abused terribly as a child. And all the therapists I went to saying, well, you should be dead or you should be a drug addict. Why are you still functioning? I'm like, I have no idea. But I'm on a mission. I want to help as many people as I can because I know the pain and I know how it just ruins your life.
I was a drug addict, alcohol, drugs.
Yeah.
And I tried everything I could to make myself dead, but I'm here.
Yeah.
And
we're happy for it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I thank Jesus. Without
Absolutely.
without God,
Absolutely.
without Jesus, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be talking to you folks and I wouldn't have run across you.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm going to put the link to your website in the description of the video so that people can just click on it and go to it and at least talk. You don't have to commit to anything. At least
doesn't
talk.
cost anything. A 15-minute chat is always free, and we'll see if you think maybe this would work for you.
So you do sessions mostly online, or do you have people actually physically come to you?
No, I only do Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if, I have clients literally in India and Australia and Europe. It doesn't matter where in the world you are.
Wow. All over.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah.
Well,
the biggest challenge is to find, with time zones, like one of my clients is in Sydney and there's 14 hours.
15 hours. Yeah.
So, we always have to work a little bit to find a session, but it works. And he's a wonderful client.
Well, I appreciate being able to meet you. We have a mutual friend that actually got us in contact with each other.
Yes, we do.
I really appreciate that. And
he's coming over for Christmas.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this has been eye-opening. It's been an inspirational story to me. And I hope people at least check into it. If this is not for you, at least find somewhere you can get some help.
Yes.
Yeah. There's plenty of websites and hotlines that you can call if you're going through any kind of distress.
It's never too late. You're never too old.
That's right.
Or too young.
hey, I've known people that are, say you had somebody who's 70. I mean, I've known people that were up in age that they waited, but they finally got the help that they needed, and
Right,
they can at
yeah.
least spend the rest of their years with some peace of mind.
Yes, have a good life.
Um,
Yeah.
Again, thank you. And I want to
Thank
thank
you.
everyone that has joined us. If you're new to the channel, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you'll come back. And for those of you that are regular to the channel, I appreciate your support. We're really growing, and I thank you very much for that. Let's spread some positivity throughout this world.
Love, baby, love.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nothing can be done without love, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, until the next one, everyone, please take care. God bless, and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network